All right, so let's get started. Nick, since they elected you like team captain, where did we leave off?
Okay, I'm the best team cap. So we left off on modeling with functions tutorial. That's the first activity, and we're at page 8, part part D.
Page 8, part B.
D.
D. I was like, I feel like we did more than that. Okay, so we're on part D. I wish I would have saved the functions. What was the function that we created for part C?
The answer. Okay, so the area is x minus 6 and 2x minus 1.
X minus 6 and 2x minus 1. Okay, and that's because we use the box method in order to figure out the length times the width of that last problem. Okay, so now that we have this, now it's saying, uh, so this format, what I said before was it tells you that this is a function called g and the input is x. Now they're asking us to do g of 8. So if this is g of 8, wherever we see an x, we're just going to write an 8. And I like using parentheses just to symbolize the multiplication. So from here, what we're going to do is 8 take away 6 is 2. And then 2 times 8 is 16 minus 1. So 15. So from here, it's 2 times 15. So our answer is going to be 30. So, one thing, guys, I found out that um, the picture option just isn't working in Admentum right now. So if you guys want to here, so if you guys want to take pictures, what I recommend you do is make a Google Doc. So make a Google Doc, like insert your picture here. So you can upload it there. And what you do is you go share, you click copy link, and then on Admentum, you just paste the link in here. That way, any teacher can click the link and will be able to see your pictures. Does that make sense?
Uh, yes.
So,
All right. Yeah, you sound so confused. Totally.
uh,
I understand.
Yes.
it'll take some practice. You just go in there. I didn't put a picture in here, but let's say I did. Like, let's say, upload from computer, and let's say I want to upload this picture of this Charizard, and then I just go to file share, and then all the teachers can see the picture of the Charizard.
Like, did you just have this ready?
I have a YouTube channel, and that was one of my thumbnails. That was-
Wait, why'd you tell your students you have a YouTube channel? Now we're gonna abuse you on there.
you guys don't know my screen name.
We don't need to know your screen name. We just need to put in your name, and then pretty much just gives it to us.
That's a lie.
All we need is that thumbnail, and we can pretty much find a video. Yeah, pretty much.
Damn it. And now this is a YouTube video for all future students to see. Anyways, so our answer for g of 8 is 30. So we can write it as g of 8 equals 30. So that way you guys can type it out still. Like for some reason, the equation editor works fine. But like I said, it's a lot of work to type all this in. So I recommend just taking a picture of your work on paper and just making a Google Doc. Just make sure you're organizing your Google Docs and don't delete your Google Docs until the units are turned in and you get credit for it. Everybody good on that one? I should have asked before I erased it. Was everyone good on that one?
I have a screenshot, so you can.
So Nelson will volunteer his screenshot to anyone who needs it. So just ask him on Google Classroom. Thanks, Nelson. All right. So now we're going to create a scenario for f of x and g of x. Wait, what was f of x? Oh, f of x was this other one right here. So give me a second. And it's asking, what is it asking? Create a situation to compare f of x and g of x. You have already outlined, use addition, subtraction, and blah, blah, blah. So let's say we want to create a situation and we say like something like, how much more area why am I writing this down? I can just type this. So let's say it's like, how much more area does f of x, the first table, have than g of x, the second table? So if we're doing this where we're comparing areas of the table, that means that we're going to do f of x minus g of x. And then we would just write it in. So we would just literally write down the formulas. So can someone tell me what f of x was again?
I actually forgot what f of x was.
Oh, scroll up. Or do you guys have Admentum open?
Well, I do, yeah. I'm guessing it's 15. I don't know. I forgot.
Oh, it was part A. It was in part A. This part right here. Just read this out.
On page 8.
Yes.
Oh my god.
uh,
You guys haven't finished it. Holy.
what? So what's the function on part A? Nick?
5, yeah.
No, the function, not the number.
Oh, the function f of x equals x 2x plus 5.
Wasn't that g of x?
No, it's f
No.
of x.
Oh, okay. And what was g of x?
G of x equals 2x squared minus 13x plus 6.
6.
So that's how you would write this down. It doesn't ask you to solve, so you would just leave it like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it just
So,
ask, or what does it make? Yes or no?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
You are so confused.
I'm not confused.
You sound. You just look up.
Yes.
So, and then you guys can do your self evaluations on your own. If something confused you, this is a good point in time to be like, since this is a cohort, instead of you guys doing it on your own, just write something in here like, I was confused when we did the box method, or I didn't understand how we make up a function, or part E just didn't make any sense to me. Just write something like that. Um, just so I'm aware of it, you know? Cool.
Hello, PC.
So let's go to the next slide. All right. So in here, they're just describing how to do composition of functions. So when you're doing composition of functions, this is usually how mathematicians see it. But an easier way to think about it is like you're adding the two functions together. So this is saying with the same input. So that's how come it's like, well, it kind of doesn't make any sense to write it here and here, right? So that's how come they like mathematicians like writing it this way. It's like, oh, I'm adding two functions together and it has this input of x. Does that make sense? Yes?
Oh my god, I was yawning. Sorry.
And over here, it's the same thing. We can multiply two functions together with that same input. Divide two functions together with that same input. And this is how it looks like when we actually plug in those functions. So this is what part E was about, showing this, and then you would show your work. I'm not too particular for part E for you to actually like fact or foil this out or distribute it, I guess in this case, and then combine them. So they're just missing a bunch of work here. They're just kind of illustrating the point. Does that make the composition of functions make sense, guys?
Yeah, I'm just guessing the f plus g, the function. You're plugging in just the numbers, right?
F of g, you're plugging in the this. So it's saying that f of g or f of x is this function right here, and f of g, I'll do it in green, is this function. So this red part is this part over here. And then this
Oh,
g of x is this part right here, which is the same thing as this g of x and this f of x.
okay.
So that's how come when you look at these, it's all the same f of x. And it's all the same g of x. It's kind of like a variable for the function. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what the function notations are. It's just kind of like a variable for the function.
All right.
And then moving on to page 10. So again, watch these videos on your own, guys. We're not going to watch it in the middle. We're not going to have a video watching a video. That just doesn't make sense.
I watched the video. I want to watch the video inside the video within the video.
So,
Video section.
and then this next one, this is just talking about that length times width thing that we were talking about. How if area equals length times width, we can use functions to make it easier. So the width will stay the same because the width has no change in criteria, but it's saying the length equals uh, 3 less than twice the width. And we went over that in the first lesson, how to do this. So it's 3 less, that's where we get this minus 3 of twice the width. So it's 2w take away 3. And then you can multiply it out, and then you get this whole different looking function. So this is the same as this, they just look a little different. So moving on to page 12, this is how we would do it if they actually give us an input. So if they tell us that the width is 4 feet, now we can take that 4 feet and plug it into our equation. But notice how they say a of 4. That means use your function a with an input of 4. Does that make sense to everyone?
Auto PC.
Yeah.
Oh, let me erase the writing. Thomas said, let me,
He said yes.
oh, I need to have the chat open. That way I can see the chat faster.
What is that? Are you streaming now?
Yes, I'm streaming.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, be sure,
Donate.
be sure to donate at the bottom. All right. So, no, my little writing tool went on the second screen. There we go. Okay, so this one, they're giving us this function here. And they're saying find f of x if y is equal to 3. So in other words, y is always kind of this, we're going to have to solve for y. So they're saying we find x by plugging this in, right? So we're going to have to do 4, uh, 4, and our y is 3 squared minus 25, right? This is going to give us our x. So here we're going to do 3 squared, which is 9, minus 25. 4 times 9 is 36, minus 25. So this tells us that we get 9 as our x. So x equals 9. Now that we have 9, we can plug this 9 into this f of x. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then we're doing f of 9 equals 6, 9, because our x is 9. So we're plugging in to here the 9 plus 5 to, you know what I meant, Garrett.
No, I didn't.
We're going to plug the 9 into here.
You're more tired than me.
I wasn't here for the first meeting.
So f of 9 equals 59. So this was like a 2-part problem hidden in the disguise of just a 1-part problem, because in order to solve for y, so they give us a y, but they didn't give us the x. So let me erase some of this. So basically, to make it short, is we need to figure out our x to plug it into here. So to figure out our x, we have to take this y and plug it into here, which gives us our x. Does that make sense? Cute. Nelson, did you take a screenshot? Nelson? Nelson.
Nelson gone.
Okay, cool.
Oh my god.
All right. So moving on. Um, the first step in combining functions to represent one to make it easier, rewrite x of y so that the function represents is g or z. What? Okay, because z is our output. Okay, so in other words, I think what it's implying is that this is z equals 6x plus 5.
Z. Okay.
Yeah,
You're doing Z.
they're saying f of x equals z. Yeah, I don't know where they brought that up. It's a little weird because they're saying like, oh, write it so it goes in here. So basically, what they're saying is we're going to write f of x is equal to, and we're going to combine these functions together. So wherever we see this, we're going to plug it into the x, right? So in this case, it's going to be 6 parentheses because it's 6 minus 5 or 6 plus 5, right? So instead of that x, we're going to write 4y squared minus 25. So to make this easier, we're going to distribute this out and we're going to get, not 6. 6 times 4 is 24y squared minus 25. So f of x equals this. In this case, it changes it to f of y because now our input isn't x, our input is now y. And let's see if this works. So you guys don't have to screenshot or write this part down. I'm just going to show you that it works. So I'm going to do 24 3 squared minus 25. So this would turn into 9. 9 times 24. I'm going to do a calculator for that because I don't know what 9 times 24 is off the top of my head. And minus the 25. Why didn't this work? Oh, I forgot the 4. Blah. Wait, no, I did the 4. Oh, Nelson, you might have to take another screenshot because this is supposed to be 6 times 25.
Something was off.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little too high. I forgot to distribute the 6 to the 25. So then if I take my eraser here, this is 150. Where's my calculator? 24 times 9, 216 minus 150. Get my calculator out. Minus 150, 66. So it's off by a lot less. What did I do wrong? Well,
It was just the distributing. That was it.
yeah.
Wait, distribute oil? No, I don't. I'm tired.
You didn't say.
Can you change the?
Can I change
Five.
Okay.
The plus five. 6s plus 5.
6x plus? Oh, he's right. I forgot the because I have to do this and then plus 5, so it's minus 145. Thank you. So that would make this something else. But do you guys get the idea? As long as you guys understand it, that's what matters.
Yes.
I think so.
Look, yeah. So what happened? The part where I messed up, like I think that was Andy that pointed out, um, was that I had to do this part, and then I forgot to put the plus 5 at the end over here. So that's where all the mistakes happened. Everyone good?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So write the function 6x plus 5 while substituting in z. What is this substituting in z that they keep talking about?
Zebra.
Is there a z function that I'm missing, guys?
Not that I know of.
I'm missing my brain cells.
Same.
I would have guessed that waking up like right as it just makes you want to like commit suicide on a whole different level.
Stop
Oh my
combining
god.
the function.
Holy.
Rewrite f of x. Yeah, so I wrote the z. Okay, we did that part. And then rewrite this in terms of the oh.
I wish I could do that. Maybe I could look at it. Oh.
So so what happened here, guys? I did more work than I had to. They wanted the answer to simply look like this: 6 4y squared minus 25 plus 5. That's all they wanted for step B. For step C, that's where they want us to show the extra work. So z equals that. So this step, they want me to distribute it out. So this is where I do the 24y squared minus 150 plus 5,
Hold up. Before we continue, what did you just say?
150.
We must cleanse him. We must cleanse him of his sins.
So
Sins.
that's what we get for this. Now combine this and justify. Oh, this is the part where I check if I'm right. So let's see. So I'm going to do this 24 3 squared minus 145. and this becomes 24 9 minus 145. And let's do this. 24 times 9, 216. So this is 216 minus 145. And then minus 145. So we get that 71. And I believe that was the answer we got for part A. So that's how we do part D. Did everyone kind of get that down?
I took a screenshot.
Can I see the part E, part C?
Part C? This part. Oh, wait. Part C. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
The
I like how you guys are all tech savvy. It's all like, yeah, I'm just gonna screenshot it, and like my mind went to like, yeah, just grab a notebook, guys, and just write it down. All right.
I think that's something to do with the notebook thing because the whole screenshot thing. I don't know.
I just have it already done.
All right. So summarize what you did in parts B, C, and D. So
Oh my god.
so all you would do is you would just say something like, I don't know why I want to write down. Like my writing's terrible. I can just type it. I'm like, so I combined the two functions so that I can find the solution with one input. Because that's all you're doing. Like the way it was before, you had two different inputs, right? You had this f of x equals 6x plus 5, and then you had x of y equals this 4y squared minus 25. So you took two functions and you combined them into one. That way, now instead of having to have an x input and a y input, now all you need is your y input. I don't know how to spell. Does that make sense?
Neither do I.
F of x, y. So these are two functions. All right.
So that's all you really need to put for part E. All right, so part F. When you evaluate the function and specify combining, it's called function compositions. Is it possible to combine two functions? Yes. Explain your response. Yes,
Perhaps.
because we did it. So what you do is you.
Okay. Okay.
Is that literally what you're going to write as your answer?
Yeah.
The long answer, instead of yes, because we did it, would be like yes, if the functions are related to each other, meaning that we can input one function into another. So that's the long answer. The short answer, I don't know why they did it that way. It's like, can you do it? It's like, yeah, we literally just did it. But the long answer would be this. So as long as they're related, meaning we can put one function into the other function. Evaluate this thing. We already did that. We literally just did this in part, what was it, part G or something?
Uh, yeah, but it's asking, is the result the same as the result you obtained in part A?
It
I'm gonna put no.
was it or was it different?
I don't remember. Wait, hold on. Oh my god, I took a screenshot for both.
I
Hold on.
think you said it was the same.
Let Let's just say it was. So, yes, it was the same because there are the same functions composed together.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the same. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then again, when you guys are doing this, so if you guys are doing it along with me, you can do it right now. Just write down what you understood, what you didn't understand, all that fun stuff. If you're doing it later, just don't forget to do your self evaluation. All right, so moving on to 14. So this is just the idea of combining the functions just like we did, where one input becomes the input of the other function. So that's the TLDR on this. Function composition, putting one function into the other function. It's similar to how we were doing if you add the functions together, if you multiply the functions together. It's the same thing, but now they're just giving you the notation. So instead of calling it f with g inside of this, meaning that g of x is the input of f, they're just saying f is composed with g and the original input is x. That's all this is saying. So these two are equal to each other, is the long and short of this. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah. So the fog method.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
The fog method. All right.
So fog is the same thing as this. I usually don't like fog because it confuses me. So I usually think of it like this. But if you ever see this, just know it's this right here.
Oh man. Okay.
Did you need me to hold that shot for a second? Or you're good?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I just hope I can remember that.
So that's
Screenshot it. Screenshot it.
he's gonna have like a million pictures in his computer, like by the end of this class. All right. So this next part, oh, my thingy disappeared. There we go. It's back. So this is just saying what I just said right now, except it's just giving us numbers. It's telling us to replace it. So that's all this is saying is that this is equal to that. They're just doing it with actual numbers. Eh,
Yeah.
that makes sense, Nick?
Uh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on. And again, they're just giving us another example where the area of one is dependent on the area of the other. So they're just inputting one function into another. So again, they're just repeating the same thing. We're just solving for g of x. So it's just saying that basically, if you solve for g of x first and then plug this into your f of g of x, it's the same thing. So you can combine them right away or solve them separately. That's all this entire slide is saying. We good?
Yes,
Cool.
we are.
And then this is just saying function composition is necessary. The reason being is like in case if one thing affects another thing, that's why we need to have this composition. So, for example, how far can you travel if your miles per gallon is a certain amount? So that's if your fuel economy, basically how much gas your car takes up, affects how far you're going to go. So that's where we would comprise these functions together. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. And again, it might not be that exact thing, but I'm just kind of giving you like the TLDR of this stuff. So here it's talking about the cost of gas and how far it's going to take you to commute, basically. So if gas costs so much a gallon, you're going to have this cost of gas function right here. So, and if your car spends so much gas per dollar, I think that's what it's saying. It's this. It's basically just taking these two functions and combining them. Does that make sense?
He's commander.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. So here, it's just this idea of like, they're just giving you visual aid. We have an input, it goes into this function, gives you an output, and then we take this output to become the new input, and that's going to give us the overall output. So that's just visual aid on what we've been learning so far. And then this is just going to sum it up with a nice video. And again, you guys can watch that on your own.
I
And
want to watch it with the homies.
then, but I mean, you have every right to do that. All right. So now they're going to give us a composition function example. So to express Kelvin as a function of Fahrenheit, so we're going to take this Kelvin and it's going to give us. So wait, what are we doing here? Okay, Kelvin is equal to this, and then we're going to say that that's equal to that. So basically, it wants us to get Fahrenheit and turn it into Kelvin, right? So this formula gives us Kelvin, and we want this to go into here. That way we can get it, right? Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Maybe? Okay. So basically, they want us to solve for Kelvin, but they want our input overall to be Fahrenheit. Well, we don't have a Kelvin with an input of Fahrenheit, right? We have a uh, Celsius with an input of Fahrenheit. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to do Kelvin with Celsius, and that one has an input of Fahrenheit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So our overall function is going to be Kelvin. And then we're going to combine that with our Celsius, and our input overall is going to be Fahrenheit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this 70 degrees Fahrenheit, plug it in. Oops, wrong way. Damn it, that's on my eraser. There we go. So this goes into this function over here, right?
Yeah. It'd be 77 minus 32, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can someone do that for me on a calculator? 77 minus 32?
Uh,
I got 45 off the top of my head.
Hold on. There we go. 35, yeah.
35 or 45?
And
35.
35?
yep.
Are you sure?
What, Victor, what do you want me to do? Calculator, no, it's 45.
77 minus 32? Okay, 45. Okay. So now, when it comes to fraction, guys, there's two options. You can multiply the top and the top or divide by the bottom. I'm going to divide by the bottom first. 45 divided by 9 is 5. So we have 5 times 5. So that's going to give us 25. That makes sense? So now,
Yeah.
so now we're going to take this 25 and put it into here. So now 25, clear that, 25 plus 273.15. So we get 298.15. So our answer overall is going to be 298.15. Everybody good?
Yeah, yeah. Let me just take a screenshot. That is screenshot worthy. Looks like an SAT question.
Looks like an
Yo,
SAT
them
question.
SAT questions real hard though. Not gonna lie.
All right. So I believe the next slide is just the summary video. So again, you guys can watch that on your own. And we're done, guys. So, Garrett, if you need help with the first couple slides, let me know. We can set up in the
Tutorial?
the tutorial.
I already finished like the first three tutorials
Oh, okay.
and the mastery test.
Okay, well then, Jory, jeez.
It's just that's why I was like surprised